As Bill announced last week, Bill Gibson leading our stewardship team, we are in the midst of our pledge campaign, trying to raise support as Moses did for the tabernacle within the congregation to fund our ministry and our outreach for the next year. And the way we typically do this is we have folks give testimony to the work that they do in this church, the way this church has blessed and supported them. And we're having the staff do that this year. And we start with John Coate. He is our youth minister. How long have you been doing that, John?
4 years.
4 years. That is excellent. Come on, talk to us.
Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jonathan Coate. For the last 4 years, I have had the privilege of serving here at St. Peter's as the youth minister. There are times where I feel like teenagers are the most despised demographic universally in our country. And, that's a real shame because they really do go through an incredibly difficult period, psychologically, physically, emotionally. But as my wife can attest, in terms of maturity, I'm basically an overgrown teenager myself. And I've always really enjoyed being with teenagers. In the midst of all the eye rolls and everything else, there is a real joy, a real hunger for laughter, a real thirst for authenticity, and I've always found that very refreshing. So our goal in the youth ministry at St. Peter's is to reward that authenticity, to make church less of an obligation, more of a place to call home. We want church to feel like a safe place to come and be honest and be real, to have difficult conversations, and also to laugh. And whether we do that in how we discuss Scripture, or whether we're doing our annual challenge we call Riding the Foamy Dragon, which is where you drop a Mentos into a Coca-Cola and try to drink the foam as it comes up. Not a very COVID-safe activity. We had to table that one this year. But whether it's in any of the silly things that we do together or in those more serious moments, what I love about working with teenagers is they really want to discuss the Bible in a nerdy way, and that can draw some really serious conversations together. Now, a little over a decade ago, somebody had the bright idea to ask 2 teenage boys to run a lesson at Children's Chapel. Now, I think it's true almost universally that the collective IQ of teenage boys goes down when you have more than one of them working on a project. I should mention these 2 teenage boys were me and my best friend from youth group at the time. And we didn't take it very seriously. We put on this very silly puppet show with popsicle stick puppets we made ourselves. But despite our best efforts, the kids loved it. These 2 giggling idiots somehow became a hit. So we did these shows regularly for a while, usually showing up before church about 15 minutes early to make these puppets out of hot glue and tape. We had plans to do the book of Revelation at one point, but I think the project was abandoned because we couldn't find enough googly eyes.
Well, those googly eyes all ended up in my office.
Indeed they did.
Stuck on everything.
Yeah, better use of the googly eyes in the end. Many years passed, and Father Tom asked me to be the youth minister here. The role has been an absolute blast for me and my wife. And as Bill Gibson explained last week, our stewardship theme this year is One Together. And as I thought about what this theme has meant to us in youth ministry, I kept thinking about those puppets. Because as it turned out, the teenagers I got to work with in youth ministry over the last 4 years were the very same kids from all those years ago who had watched those puppet shows. The majority of them actually graduated this year and left for college. And it has been an incredible blessing to watch those kids grow. I think that's the beautiful thing about communion. We're all bound together by 1,000 connections, seen and unseen. And these connections aren't just in this room, in this present moment. Sometimes we aren't even aware of how these little things, like a puppet show, can bind us together for many years. It can be so hard to really appreciate those connections until they're gone. With all the isolation and interruption that this year has brought, it's also revealed how important these connections really are to us, how difficult it would be to live without them. So this morning, I urge you to reflect and pray on all these seen and unseen connections, to open your heart to fostering these connections in the years to come. Amen.
Thank you, John. You know, one of the strange things, stay up here, one of the strange things about being here as long as I have is you get to see little 5-year-olds become men. And he says he's still kind of a teenager at heart, but one of the things I appreciate about this man is his wisdom and good judgment and encouragement in ministry with me, that what you bring to my work and to fill out the ministry of this church, to give what you received as a kid. And it's a great blessing to have you part of the team, John. And it's a great blessing what you all do to have brought this guy back and to keep him coming back. The money that you make his salary possible, and the community that you all have created that make this a place where he wants to come back as a man to minister, bring his wife. It's a real blessing, John.
Thank you.
And that's just a small token.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for your work.